Hello again, it's Simon, and tonight the journey continues. Deeper into the heart of a time long past. Berlin in World War II, a place of secrets, danger, and decisions that shaped the world. Before we begin, let's take a moment to relax. Feel the surface beneath you, steady and supportive. Let your hands rest softly and your shoulders relax. Take a deep breath in and out, releasing all the tension from your day. In and out. In and out. In and out. Now, let's step back into the story. Simon stood frozen in the middle of the cobblestone street, his breath clouding the cold air. Around him, the world was alive with activity. Soldiers marched in neat formations, their boots echoing against the stone, while civilians hurried past, their faces drawn with worry. The distant sound of a military vehicle drew closer, its engine rumbling low and steady. Simon quickly stepped back, pressing himself against the shadowed wall of a building. He clutched the photograph tightly, his mind racing. How is this possible? He whispered to himself. The photograph in his hand no longer glowed, its surface faded and worn like the world around him. The vehicle passed by, a truck filled with soldiers, their faces stern and unreadable. Simon exhaled slowly, his heart pounding as he scanned his surroundings. The shop. He needed to find the shop. He turned down an alley, the narrow path lined with towering buildings that seemed to close in around him. The air was colder here, and the distant hum of activity faded to an eerie silence. But the shop was gone. Simon stopped where he thought the door had been, his gaze darting across the empty wall. There was no sign of the faded sign, no cluttered windows filled with artifacts, just bricks and shadows. This can't be happening, Simon muttered, turning in a slow circle. But as his eyes adjusted to the dim light, he noticed something lying on the ground, a small folded piece of paper. He picked it up cautiously, unfolding it to reveal a handwritten note. The ink was faint, but the words were clear. Find the resistance. They can help you. Simon's grip tightened on the note, his mind reeling. The resistance. Was this meant for him? And if so, how did someone know he would be here? The sound of approaching footsteps pulled him from his thoughts. Simon quickly slipped the note into his pocket and stepped further into the shadows, his eyes fixed on the street ahead. Two soldiers appeared, their voices low and serious as they spoke in German. Simon couldn't understand every word, but he caught enough to know they were looking for someone. An outsider, someone who doesn't belong, one of them said, his tone sharp. Simon's breath hitched. They were looking for him. He waited until the soldiers moved past, their footsteps fading into the distance, before stepping out from the shadows. His heart pounded as he made his way back to the main street, his mind racing. He needed answers. The streets grew quieter as Simon wandered further from the center of the city. The buildings here were smaller, their windows dark, and the air carried a faint chill that seeped into his skin. As he turned a corner, he noticed a faint light spilling from the doorway of a small pub. It was the only sign of life in the otherwise deserted street. "Maybe someone here can help," Simon murmured, his breath visible in the cold air. He pushed the door open, the faint smell of smoke and ale meeting him as he stepped inside. The room was dimly lit, filled with the quiet murmur of voices and the occasional clink of glasses. Simon scanned the room, his eyes landing on a woman sitting alone at a corner table. She was young, her dark hair pinned neatly back, and her eyes sharp as they flicked toward him. For a moment, their gazes met, and Simon felt a strange sense of recognition. "You're not from around here, are you?" she said, her voice low but firm as he approached. Simon hesitated, his hand brushing against the note in his pocket. "No, I'm not." The woman gestured for him to sit, her expression unreadable. "You shouldn't be wandering the streets alone. It's not safe." Simon nodded, lowering himself into the chair across from her. "I need help. I don't know where I am." The woman's eyes narrowed slightly. "You're in Berlin, and judging by the look on your face, you're not here by choice." Simon shook his head. "I don't even know how I got here. One minute I was in a shop, and the next..." He trailed off, his gaze dropping to the table. The woman leaned closer, her voice barely above a whisper. "Listen carefully. If what you're saying is true, you need to find the resistance. They're the only ones who can help you. But you have to be careful. The Gestapo doesn't take kindly to strangers." Simon nodded slowly, his mind racing. "Where do I find them?" The woman glanced toward the door, her expression tense. "There's a bakery near the market square. Ask for the special. They'll know what it means." Before Simon could respond, the door to the pub creaked open, and two soldiers stepped inside. The woman straightened quickly, her demeanor calm and collected. "Go," she said softly, her eyes locking on his. "Now." Simon hesitated for only a moment before slipping out at the back door, his heart pounding as he disappeared into the shadows. For now, we'll pause here. This is the end of episode 2, but Simon's journey into the past is just beginning. Imagine the quiet streets, the flicker of candlelight in the pub, and the weight of history pressing down around you. Breathe deeply, let the calm settle over you,